Good evening, our Patriot family, and welcome to another episode of the Fight for Patriotism, where we discuss government involvement in our history that they did behind our backs to try and cripple us from the inside out. On tonight's episode, we are going to be discussing drug and human trafficking in the school system that our government keeps on meddling in. I'm your producer, host, and brother Zachary Smouse, and with me are your Patriot brothers Hawk and Slow Country. I'll open up with the Bible verse of the day, play my introduction, and then check on how our brothers are. The Bible verse for Wednesday, June 29, 2022 is, "Consequently, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ." Romans 10:17 NIV.
We need you now. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. One day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
How are my brothers doing tonight?
Oh, doing good, man. Doing good. You?
Doing all right. Doing all right. You know, I think the most upsetting thing about this week was the results of the Maxwell trial. You know, but I mean, I know that there's going to be a lot of good things that come from this. I understand that. You know, I see the bigger picture, but what disappoints me is that they had 17 or 18 different women in there that expressed themselves to the court upon the sentencing. And, you know, this really shows you where our judicial system is so corrupted, because this woman only, you know, she had 3 different charges that she had been found guilty on. But the fact of the matter is they lumped all those women together, all those boys and girls that this woman trafficked for years, you know, you know, and they bulked them all together. There was no individual sentencing for each case, which I believe that there should have been. In all honesty, I believe the woman should have been executed, you know, because to ensure that she could never do any more harm. Now, is she going to come forward and turn other people? There's always that possibility, but I want the client list now. We got that conviction. The only one left out of the 3 is Rachel Chandler, you know, and she was no different than the girl that was from Smallville there that was involved with the Nixium situation, you know. But all of this boils around, you know, child trafficking, and you know, this is, you know, Zach contacted me as soon as he decided that this was a topic he wanted to do, because, you know, my personal connection. and my personal opinion and feelings in regards to this, all too often, the children remain nameless victims. They remain faceless victims. And oftentimes those that survive, grow old like myself, with a lot of hate, a lot of anger, and on top of that, a lot of fear, because it's a smell, a sound, no different than battle fatigue or combat PTSD. You go through these phases, which can ultimately affect your overall growth as a human being, and all too often, these faceless and nameless children are just forever forgotten, and we need to shine a light on that, and to show the extent in which these people are going. Now, we know that a certain group of people put together a bunch of information. They talked about Fantasyland. They talked about the Bloody Wonderland, and then they talked about the Wonderland. Now, those three places would consist of Disney, Saudi Arabia, and Ukraine. So Ukraine is not just a money laundering facility, but it was also the second largest human trafficking hub worldwide. So when you look at these over it all, Verdi, that is correct. Zacher Hawk. What does it mean? They say there is a third conspirator on the docket, and the name hasn't been revealed yet. Yeah, that would, that's why I believe that third person is going to be Rachel Chandler. And if you digit down her name, it comes up as child handler. So, it's, we talk about grooming. We've been talking about that quite a bit lately, because of everything going on in schools and things like that. What Rachel Chandler did was basically the same thing, but to teenage and young women and men, and young teen boys, in order to get them enticed into going along with, whatever was going on. But a lot of these people are raped continuously, and raped into a submission where they just forever do what they're told. So there's a lot of extensiveness to it, and we have to we really do have to shine a light to it. The only group that I really see out there impacting and making a huge difference, besides our sheriffs, because if everybody's noticed, for the last year and a half, our sheriffs have really stepped up the game. These aren't local police making these arrests. These are sheriffs going in and getting these traffickers, and that stuff is actually being published. The thing is people aren't putting it together as trafficking. They're only seeing it as a form of prostitution. I'm sorry, but there's no such thing as prostitution for a child. That is trafficking. That is sex trafficking and child trafficking. So we hope to shine a little bit bigger light. And I'll shut up now. You go ahead, Zach. I know you got some stuff prepared. 1 minute? Okay.
So I think Rachel Chandler is hidden because I think she's the one naming names.
Well, that's why I said, the third conspirator, why weren't the conspirators brought into court together? Type of thing. So when you look at that in its overall aspect, the three of them were like the Bobbsey twins, only triplets, where one went, at least one of the other two was present. So wherever Epstein was, one of the two of them was with him, or vice versa with Ghislaine. where she went, there was always at least one more with her. So I believe that we're going to see a lot of this stuff really come forward, and it's going to be in a way that is going to further awaken the people. You know, that's why I get mad when people talk about QAnon. You know, listen, there's Q, who asked a bunch of questions, and then there are Anons who tried to figure it out. You know, and when it comes to those circumstances, you know, there's putting the logo of QAnon on there and forming and framing a narrative, you know, that they're all just a bunch of loony people who believe that, you know, all Democrats are Satanists and pedophiles and drink babies' blood and all that shit. Okay. You know, so it really takes a big wind out of us letting people know about the real trafficking going on, you know, and that's really disappointing. So go ahead, Zach. Floor is yours, brother. I'm going to mute.
Tonight is very close to me because I'm fighting my ass off for the children. I'm sorry for cussing, but I'm fucking over the government trying to control our children. The government, here's my real truth to tell you, leave our children alone, you sick fucks. I'm sorry, but children need love for their hearts and not taught about fucking sex.
True words were never spoken.
Yep, can't argue with that. Verdi, that is a very good possibility. She asked, could it also be why the list of names has not been released yet? I'm telling you, when the client list is completely released, there's going to be some hell to pay. And a lot of people are not going to believe half the names that are on there. Hey, you two, go ahead and behave yourselves.
Oh, speaking of what you were touching on a little bit ago about the child's blood hawk, did you see that video I sent you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Isn't that absolutely disgusting? Yep.
Yep. That is one of the logos for that for that particular item. So Silver Girl said no one should ignore those in families abused and trafficked for the arms of their parents, but not getting the light shined on them. Many in homes are trafficked by parents. Yep, that is very true.
And I've also got the court document pulled up here. It was filed in 2020. I don't know if you had a chance to go through that, Hawk and Zach. Have you gone through it?
I started to, but I did so much work. I didn't really get a chance to go through it. I was actually hoping to do that tonight, but this came up before I had a chance to go through it. So we'll run with what you got and what you've been able to discover in there. We're going to be dropping some links to some PDFs, which will provide you guys with a whole bunch of documentation in regards to these topics and the cases in which we're going to talk about. It's, you know, I would recommend reading. You know, this is the thing: is something comes across your desk, read it. You know, it comes across your screen, just read it. You know, you'll know as to whether there's truth to it or not. And you know, it's the idea that we want to provide you as much information as possible. Rob, there were some comments made from that, and Jim Caviezel said it himself that the theaters are battling him. They don't want to handle the product. For a private show, that was one thing, but to have that running in their theaters, they believe that it would expose way too many Hollywood personalities in the entertainment industry people, and so it's been put on hold. I would do like you did with 2,000 Mules. I just put it on there and let because who's not going to want to donate to saving children? I mean, it's that simple. If you know that that's where the money is really going, that's what I would do. Like 2,000 Mules, I would release it on the internet and say F the theaters completely, because it's more important for the people to learn about it than it is for it to remain hidden. Go ahead, Zach. I'm shutting up. Good evening, John Dunning. Good evening, young man.
So the documents we're going to show everybody, they're actually filings from the Southern District of New York in the the Federal District Court. There it is, of the Southern District in New York. Now I want to remind everybody, these are statements of facts as they were presented in the filings, and the case has been ultimately dropped, and but it names a lot of people in here and a lot of companies of which everybody has heard of, just about. So I mean, there might be a few in there that you haven't heard of, but for the most part, we've heard of all the major ones in here. So it's a real eye-opener, and it goes into explicit detail of what happened and who is involved and all that stuff. So
I might not ever have children of my own, unfortunately, but I'll fight for and love them unconditionally.
absolutely. So Zach, are you ready for this? All right, man. Here it comes. Okay. So this is the filing that came out of New York, U.S. District Court, Southern District. Now, if we look at the names on here, I'll bet nobody has heard of these folks. But the 1953 trust that we see here, that is Jeffrey Epstein's trust that he set up a while back before his supposed demise. Oh, skipped too far. But if we look here, we all know that name, Harvey Weinstein, Sean Carter. Everybody should know who that is. His stage name is Jay-Z. Then we've got Darren Endike, Richard Kahn, the Weinstein Corporation, Miramax Films, Walt Disney, Def Jam Recordings, Rock Nation, Universal Pictures, Sony, Paramount, Warner Brothers, United Artists, Universal Pictures, Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers, Universal Pictures, Sony Pictures, 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 Universal Music Group, Beyonce Knowles. Go down here. Kanye West, Terrence Thornton, Black Cube Limited, Vivendi, Dwayne Carter, which is Lil Wayne, Jean-Luc Brunel, Young Money Entertainment, Good Music, Shelley Massenberg Smith, David Boys, Robert Kelly, aka R. Kelly, which he was sentenced today, by the way, to 30 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you got 30 years.
Milton Brown, Marcello Clower, Sprint Corporation, Viacom CBS, Virgil Abloh, Qatar Investment Authority, Tudor Saliba Corporation. Oh, there's that name right there. Ghislaine Maxwell, Parkwood Entertainment, the City of New York, New York City Police Department, Sir Philip Green, Sony Entertainment, John Doe's 1 to 100, Jane Doe's 1 to 100, and Corporation Doe's 1 to 100.
And do you know what you have to go through in order to actually be listed as a John Doe or a Jane Doe in this type of case? I mean, that's money talks, BS walks.
Yes. Yes.
You knuckleheads, take it outside.
And it says plaintiff number 1, which is I think Charlene Latham, enters this statement as formal statement of the case against all defendants as captioned in page 1 of the statement. So all the names here that we just went through, talking about all these folks. The Doe defendants, including corporations and their executive or involved personnel, are fully included in this action. The Doe defendants represent employees, partners, collaborators, vendors, third parties, heirs, and related entities whose identities and specific criminal roles have been intentionally concealed or withheld by the defendants to prevent their being brought to justice by being named in this and other civil complaints, while intentionally being made unavailable to the plaintiffs of this action to avoid redress. Corporate defendants named or identified as Does are accused of aiding and abetting in the facilitation of the unlawful surveillance, spying, stalking, and repeated drugging, abducting, hostage taking, and kidnapping for criminal intent of sexual assault, abuse, extortion, and exploitation in the same capacity as any person named as defendant, and in their capacity as corporations providing support to the criminal enterprise of the defendants 1 through 3, corporate purveyors, facilitators, conspirators, and including by providing money laundering services to route payments to the parties of this large-scale criminal enterprise of criminal activity targeting the plaintiffs. That was a mouthful. Some Doe defendants' identities are not revealed at the time of filing in the statement to protect or preserve any criminal investigations occurring that may be jeopardized or undermined if the plaintiffs reveal certain Doe defendants' identities at this stage of the proceedings. Over the course of decades, the defendants established a lucrative but sociopathic criminal enterprise where the defendants engaged in decades of human trafficking, sexual assaults, and various abuses, including financial and economic exploitation, drugging for abduction, taking plaintiffs number 1 and plaintiffs John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10 hostage. The defendants engaged in this criminal and sociopathic conduct as a form of specific criminal intentions designed as sexual harassment, extortion, physical torture, psychological torment, and revenge, targeting plaintiff number 3 for her refusal to sell her child, plaintiff number 1, or children, John Doe and Jane Doe, plaintiffs, to the defendants 1 through 3. So that was the Epstein, or the Epstein Trust, that 1953 corporation or trust. Let me go back up here. The Harvey Weinstein and Jay-Z. And as we can see here, we've got the received to the Southern District in New York Pro Se office, August 31st of 2020 at 10:05 a.m. So this, like I said, this is an actual filing in the district court. So, and then the next document we'll pull up, it'll be the, it'll have the case number and all that. So you guys can research it and all that good stuff. What's up, Zach?
Do you want me to pull it up again?
Well, that was just the opening to it. It hasn't even gotten into the actual witness statements yet. It's pretty gruesome. I didn't know if you wanted to cover that or not.
That would be where we would should send or post the links for the PDFs.
Okay.
Make them available. You know, that way then we're not crossing a line here on YouTube, and everybody can get any information that they want by going through the documentation themselves. So, in my opinion, that's you know what we should look at. You know, doing on that level, but it's
all right
as to where you want to go with it.
I'm gonna go ahead and drop this in the private chat for you, Zach. This is a link to all of the files. But yeah, it talks about, you know, in the interference, and
I put it in the chat.
Thanks, Austin. But that's a link, and it'll have all of these documents that we're going over. So,
and you know, and if you're a parent who, you know, maybe you have a teenager that's just a little bit out of control right now. You know, it's hard to keep them in the house. You don't know where they're going, things like that. Well, maybe sitting down with something like this with them might actually open their eyes, you know, showing them documentation from a court in regards to this type of activity and everything else. Maybe they might catch a little bit of understanding about the dangers that they face in getting out there in the streets and running around at nighttime. You know? But I mean, a child is abducted every 40 seconds in the United States. You know, it's over 2 million children per year. And those are accurate numbers. You know, the only time that decreased was when DJT was in office. And since he's been out of office, it's gone right back up. It's gone right back up. Sky high.
Yeah, this document, it also talks about Les Wexner and his role. And that there was a Epstein's estate. Plaintiff number 3 agreed to an out-of-court multi-million-dollar monetary settlement in the late 1980s, early 1990s, to avoid a public criminal and civil prosecution for Epstein's sexual abuse of several of plaintiffs' 2 and 3's children. So there was money that was agreed to in the past, but it was, I don't think it was ever paid.
And so, if he's really dead, then yeah, suing his estate would be the best way to go.
And that's who they're going after, is the estate. So let me go down here.
Oh, trust me, my second video will cover the Biden administration.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to go to the closing here real quick. And then I'll go to the next document. But let's see here. But this right here, defendants to cease and desist their extreme and egregious criminal misconduct. Since at least the 1988, the defendants' extreme conduct has continued in various forms throughout the year 2020, with little to no intention of the defendants' willingness to stop their criminal conduct without lawsuit or their arrests on criminal charges to totally disrupt or disband the global criminal enterprise they've erected over 3 decades. So, and then she certified under the penalty of perjury. So, and that's a pretty big deal. But yeah, I'll go into the next one here. All right. So this is the judge's decision right here. And he basically released the case, dismissed the case under the grounds of being frivolous. So, and then here's the discussion. The discussion is what I really wanted to go in here. Plaintiff's claims rise to the level of the irrational, and there is no legal theory on which she can rely. So they're pretty much saying the case is moot. But since the sentencing of Maxwell yesterday and the sentencing of R. Kelly today,
that set precedents.
Yes, exactly.
And this is the thing. If any one of you in chat were the ones who were in court, you know, facing these charges and everything else, you would have got nailed for every single child. You'd have had more charges coming out your wazoo than Yoo-hoo and you know what I'm saying. You know where I'm going with this. Okay. For this woman to only be charged as lumping all of those people as one individual, you know, that's why I said money talks, bullshit walks. And that's basically what it is. You know, Money, money, money.
Now, here's the real kicker. All right. This is the real kicker. You're going to love this one. So this is the appeals packet request. Okay. Because they said that she needed to appeal it with the clerk and all that good stuff, but she had to have an order dismissing the case. As of 12/2 of 2020, the plaintiff was given notice that the case was closed and that she would need to request an appeals packet and obtain a copy of the order dismissing the case. No information was given regarding the nature of the dismissal. Plaintiff requested permission to submit documents and receive email communication for this matter at the time of filing. No notice of the pandemic measures allowing email submissions from pro se filers was provided or made known, despite plaintiff asking for such information or public or permission from the court prior to filing. And this is the formal request for the appeals packet, including the order dismissing the case and attached consent form granting consent by electronic device. So it and it talks about having a Pacer account, and then it gives the case 20 CV 7102 seeking appeal, but it really that's a big deal.
Yeah, almost have to ask yourself, what did the judge know in this case?
Well, and here's the thing about the judge. The judge was appointed by Reagan in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
And the man he's old. He was born in, I think, 1927.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's really a big deal, and that's a big step, because he's been in that office for so long that he pretty much has dirt on everybody or knows what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, you can't be in that position and not know.
But she ended up filing a complaint with the chief judge of the office. And the chief judge said, because such complaints are properly directed to the clerk of the Court of Appeals for Circuit, to the extent the plaintiff is requesting the undersigned make or alter rulings in the above case, the request is denied. And she wasn't asking for that. So even the chief judge said no. And the chief judge is Laura Taylor Swain.
Why does that name sound familiar?
It does sound familiar. And that was ordered June 16th of this year. So just a matter of 2 weeks ago. So it's it's one of those things, and I'll look up Laura Taylor Swain real quick. Okay, let's see here. She was appointed by Bill Clinton. Yeah, here. Preceded by Colleen McMahon, appointed by Bill Clinton. Following a list of all Article 3 United States federal judges appointed by Bill Clinton during his presidency, a total of Clinton appointed 378 Article 3 judges, including 2 justices to the Supreme Court. Okay.
She was the lady in charge of the bankruptcy.
Who's that?
Swain.
Oh, really?
She was on the federal rules of the bankruptcy procedure for 2007 through 2010. Who went bankrupt back then?
Oh, I can't remember. That's been a while ago.
Yeah. So, yep. That's pretty big in New York.
Yeah.
You know, so
Drop this in private chat for everybody. But yeah, it's a big deal.
This is all disgusting, and I want to say something to Disney. What the hell is wrong with you putting LGBTQ scenes in a movie made for children? Are you serious?
Yep. It's Zach, man. It's, you know, the only way shit like this is going to end is if we do something about it. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Messaging me. Oh, what do we have here? And see, now I have to look at my signal now, because I have these people who send me stuff, and if they're watching live and they happen to have some stuff stored on their computer, they're going to end up sending it to me. Yeah.
Ready for the first video?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to this Christian Patriot News special presentation. The truth about Disney, the occult, Freemasonry, pedophilia, sex, and drug trafficking. Warning, this show is for mature audiences only, for sexual content and imagery. Today you'll learn the truth about who Walt Disney really was, a 33rd degree Freemason and occultist addicted to porn, alcohol, and drugs. Disney used symbolism and hidden subconscious imagery throughout their movies. They featured magic, sorcery, and witchcraft. The movie Monsters, Inc. is the exact process of harvesting adrenochrome, scaring children to produce adrenaline in their blood, and then capturing the adrenochrome at the height of their panic. Disney owns 20% of all U.S. media assets. They buried the Epstein story years ago. Their CEO was on the Lolita Express flight logs, and Disney cruises filled with children made regular stops at Epstein's Pedo Island. Ghislaine Maxwell, she partnered with Disney and her nonprofit, get this, called Save the Children. When you connect the dots, you'll even see the partnership between Disney, our corrupt CIA, and drug smuggling and human trafficking operations. There's an entire world underneath Disney, underground tunnels, and even underground cages, according to whistleblower sworn testimony. And just a quick programming note, when we get to the interview of Bella Thorne, it's going to cut off abruptly. And the only reason that happens is she just drops 4 or 5 F-bombs in her interview, and I just decided to cut those out. The bottom line, the premise of what she's saying in her interview is she was a Disney childhood star who was molested since being a young girl and is dealing with that trauma to this day. When a small percentage of the population has guns and the rest of us are banned from owning guns, the majority is helpless. Imagine what's happening in Chicago on a larger scale. The radical left dream about disarming us, because if we ever give up our gun, load this video.
Who Walt Disney actually was. Walt Disney grew up in an abusive home situation and had a keen fascination with the occult. He was an anti-Semitic alcoholic who abused drugs and alcohol to battle his insomnia. Walt became a sadistic porn addict who enjoyed snuff porn films, and his interest in children was far from altruistic. At some point, Walt became indebted to the syndicate, and they owned him. Walt was a 33rd degree Freemason, the highest level in Freemasonry. He later named his private members club Club 33. Open since 1967, membership costs $10,000 a year and has a $25,000 initiation fee per person. Celebrities who belong to the club allegedly include Tom Hanks, Christina Aguilera, and Elton John, as well as a lot of influential businessmen and women. Symbolism. Over the years, Disney has filled its films with symbolism and indecent imagery.
Oh, I just love takeoffs.
How would you put a picture of a topless woman in a child's film? Before I give you more examples of symbolism within Disney movies, take a look at these recognized pedophile symbols. Helena of Avalor, Madagascar, Flight of the Navigator, Moana. It's a Small World ride. There are also many other examples of indecent imagery with a sexual nature being used within Disney films, as well as occult and Nazi symbolism. Little girls have idolized Disney's princesses since the films began, and we were none the wiser of the background information on some of the characters. They created the characters. They chose their hair color, their eye color, their outfits, and even their ages. So why would they choose the following ages and storylines for these princesses? Snow White is 14, and she ran away to live with 7 men. Jasmine is 15 and ran away and had a love affair with a street criminal. Ariel is 16, who also ran away from home and got married and sold her soul to do so. Alice in Wonderland contains a lot of symbolism. Follow the White Rabbit. April the 25th is Alice Day, originally known as Pedophile Pride Day. The day was devised by a pedophile activist during the 1990s to celebrate their desire to molest children. Pedophiles use this day to secretly boast in public about the sick world they live in, the mindset and the abuse of children.
Bring the little brats to die! Little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment.
Hocus Pocus is about adrenochrome. The witches harvest the souls of children for youth and immortality.
In my garden of magic.
And the same with Monsters, Inc. The screams and fear of children is harvested for power. They also sexualized young Disney stars like Britney Spears here at 16.
Something wasn't right.
And Miley Cyrus, aged 15. If this isn't enough to convince you that they're trying to promote pedophilia, then I present you with a film that left Disney Plus viewers outraged. The film is called Blank Check.
Wait a minute. So that means our date? Just for your job?
Well, it started out like that.
You should have known.
Hey, I wouldn't have traded that night for anything.
So when can I see you again, Shay?
Why don't you give me a call and say about 10 years? 7.
6.
Okay, the date.
Disney owns 1/5 of the media in the USA. Here's all the companies they own. If Disney's message is to promote these vile things, then Disney owns all of those companies. Just think how widespread this is. Which leads me to this.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that we had also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known.
Why would Disney, ABC, want to hide the Epstein story? Maybe it had something to do with the fact Richard W. Cook, chairman of the Walt Disney Studios, was on the Lolita flight logs along with 2 unidentified females. Or maybe it goes deeper than that. Disney cruises were running excursions to Little St. James Island. This provided the perfect cover for trafficking child sex slaves to Epstein's pedo island for the elites to abuse. Step 1, fill a cruise ship with thousands of children. Step 2, add a few dozen slaves for transport. Step 3, take ship to destination island and unload. No one notices unaccounted slaves arriving at their destination. and no one questions regular trips of ships full of children to your island.
How disgusting is this?
You know, they're going to deny. Well, Epstein can't deny anything. If he really is dead, he can't deny anything, you know. But you know, if we look at this in the form that it is, especially with the child actors coming forward and stating their cases now and what's been going on, you know, and what has transpired there at Disney, you know, the fact that people still want to go there, you know, still want to go to Disney, still want to take their children there or send their children there without them there. That's just, and until this comes out on national TV, there's, you know, there's not going to be an end to where places like Disney are, you know.
Yeah. Also, a couple months ago, I had actually submitted a complaint to my Attorney General's office about a quote camp that was going to be going on that was going to be held, I believe it was in a bar during off hours, and it was for the normalization of perversion, pretty much.
Of pedophilia.
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily pedophilia, but they were talking about transgender stuff, and they were going to use actual adult sex toys to instruct the kids on how to use condoms and stuff like that. Now, that was supposed to be for age groups 8 to 11. Nowhere is that okay. Nowhere. So it's a lot of to be quite honest, it's a lot of sick shit.
And I'm sorry, Jerry. People need to wake up now.
No, there is that saying, those who know don't sleep. Let me tell you, people who've experienced it, they don't sleep either.
Isn't it all starting to make sense? Disney is a huge child trafficking and sex cult. Ghislaine Maxwell, September 13th, 1985. The Mirror organized a Disney Day out of the kids at Lord and Lady Bath's Longleat House in Wiltshire. A great fun day in which Ghislaine Maxwell presented a check for the Save the Children Fund. Save the children? We all know that was the last thing you were doing. In 1969, Walt enlisted the help of the CIA to help acquire the land to start building his second theme park, which covered a huge 27,000 acres of Florida swampland. His main CIA contact was William J. Donovan, aka Wild Bill, aka father of the CIA. He was also the founder of the OSS. His other connection was Paul Helliwell. Helliwell had strong ties with the mafia, and he assisted them in drug trafficking operations. Since at least 1915, there has been a global CIA drug connection operating more or less continuously, involving both of Disney's CIA friends. Paul Helliwell and Wild Bill Donovan were two of the most notorious spies in American history, adept at setting up front companies and running disinformation campaigns. This is why Walt hired them to help him build Florida's Disney World. In a classic piece of corporate subterfuge, Helliwell and Donovan helped Disney build two fake cities that would grant him total control of the local government. So Disney World Florida is practically its own sovereign nation with its own government, exempt from constitutional law. Any money paid in tax to this puppet government goes straight back to Disney. Where there's drug trafficking, there's human trafficking. And where there's human trafficking, there's tunnels. I wonder if that intricate tunnel system underneath the park is really for the characters to move around. Or could it have multiple uses? Jim Willie says that 700 children a year go missing in the sovereign nation of Disney World in Florida. Jim says Disney World is a sovereign nation and a child abduction center secured by the CIA and complete with cages underground. Cast members. All employees of Disney are referred to as cast members. There have been multiple arrests made on cast members for inappropriate involvements with minors. In 2019, Disney's VP, Michael Laney, was sentenced in a child sex abuse investigation. James Gunn was kicked off the Marvel franchise after numerous tweets featuring comments on pedophilia, rape, masturbation, and other sexual taboos were brought to the attention of Disney executives. Gunn had characterized the tweets as shocking jokes, but they suggested an unhealthy fascination with sexual acts involving children. In 2019, they rehired him. There have also been many investigations and arrests on Disney Park employees, such as this case involving an 8-year-old girl. I dread to think of how many children and child stars have been the subject of abuse to Disney cast members over the years. Bella Thorne was brave enough to speak out on the abuse she received while working at Disney in the following clip.
It is what it is. Like, it's like anything in my life. I mean, if you read the book, you'll be like, transitioning from Disney to...
When a small percentage of the population has guns and the rest of us are banned from owning guns, the majority is helpless. Imagine what's happening in Chicago on free founding. Yep.
To normalize
on a daily basis.
Now that we are seeing how blatant the entertainment industry can be at attempting to normalize pedophilia, we are becoming stronger in our discernment. Recently, the Netflix original Cuties broke boundaries by casting 11-year-olds as dancers who are sought after by creepy older men. People are canceling from Netflix in record-breaking numbers. In today's political climate, many people are coming to realize that the massive underground network of child sex trafficking has and continues to reach its final halt. Under President Trump, human trafficking worldwide has experienced incredible reductions, tons of arrests, and if it plays out like I hope, a new Hollywood will rise from the ashes of evil, and the responsibility will be on us to keep the light shining. Keyboard warriors, you know what to do.
Jesus loves the children. His word says that if anyone should harm
Yeah. And it sucks because it's rather heartbreaking the more you hear about it, you know. But the fact of the matter is it's information that needs to be out in the public. And if we're not putting it out there right now, nobody is. So we're going to keep talking about it and keep doing things about it until they step up and do the right thing.
My skin is really crawling right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think everybody says it makes my skin crawl to even think about it.
Yeah, this one here is going to be pretty interesting too, because we've been watching this going on. We've been watching, plane loads of people getting moved all across the country, children especially, and bus loads and so on and so forth. So this should be pretty interesting as to what kind of information they're going to provide.
Owen Schroyer here for Infowars.com, and I am standing on the side of Highway 281 North, just outside of McAllen, Texas. And you'll notice a sign behind me that says, "Smuggling illegal aliens is a federal crime." And just so you know this is real. Yep. Yeah, that's a real sign right there. Smuggling illegal aliens is a federal crime. I guess unless you're the federal government, then I guess it's okay. Let me explain what I've witnessed in McAllen, Texas for the last 3 days. Thousands of illegal immigrants are rushing the U.S.-Mexico border every day. Men surge on one side, women and children surge on the other. They run to Border Patrol, the women and children, so they get picked up, and most of the men just get through and into the country. So the women, illegal immigrants, run to Border Patrol, run to ICE agents, and then they pick them up, they take them to facilities, processing centers in McAllen and spread throughout Texas. McAllen is one of the centers. When they're there, they get processed and they get an envelope that has paper ID. It has services, it has maps, it tells them what flight they need to get on, what bus they need to get on, addresses, and some sort of ability financially, whether it's a debit card or cash, to move about freely. They then get taken to a COVID testing center. If they test positive for COVID, they get picked up and taken to a hotel, which ICE got a contract and gave it to a company called Endeavors to rent out all the hotels in McAllen, Texas indefinitely so they can quarantine the illegal immigrants in the hotels in McAllen, Texas. So for 7 days now, they're in the hotels, children, women, men, in the hotels quarantining for COVID. And then after that, they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know yet. If you test negative, you then get shipped to a Catholic Charities building, which then can shelter you, feed you, and also take you wherever you need to go. And we have all of this on footage. They leave the building, they get into a vehicle, private vehicle, and then they get dropped off at the airport, carrying their envelope the entire way. Many of these people can't speak English. They show up at the airport. How do they get in? They don't know. They look around. They finally figure it out. They see Border Patrol. They see TSA. They show them a piece of paper, like printer paper, that has their picture and whatever was processed at the facility. They could be making up names. Nobody knows. They don't do DNA testing, so nobody knows if the parents are with the kids. And so they're sitting there now at the airport, and they've got in with a paper ID. And then they're kind of lost inside. So they look around, and they look at their thing. Okay, I'm Las Vegas, gate 3. And they look around, and they figure out, okay, this is where I'm at. Some of these people, though, seem to know exactly what they're doing. They look like they're coming into the United States to have a party, wearing heels and crop tops and fancy earrings and jewelry and smartphones, and they're calling their friends, I'm coming in tonight, it's going down. And this is all happening on taxpayer dime. So let me get this straight. Smuggling illegal aliens is a federal crime. Well, I just witnessed thousands of illegal aliens being smuggled right in front of my very eyes by the federal government. Is that not a federal crime? Who's making these orders? Who's dictating this policy? Is it Joe Biden? And if it is, will Joe Biden be arrested for committing a federal crime of aiding and abetting and smuggling illegal immigrants? Or will Joe Biden and administration get away with the greatest crime in world history, wide open for all to see, the most massive human smuggling, human trafficking operation in world history facilitated by Biden? Or will he be charged with the federal crime of smuggling?
Headline from thepostmillennial.com. Border Patrol rescues 6-month-old baby after she was tossed into the Rio Grande by human traffickers. This is not an isolated incident, ladies and gentlemen. Sadly, this happens too often. And sadly, a lot of these children that are coming across and women that are coming across are raped on the way. And many then put into the sex trafficking black market by the cartels. And because there's no rapid DNA testing, and because there's no real processing of the data and the information of these people when they come in, there's really no way to stop it. Once they get released from the COVID testing facilities, they're out. They're no longer detained. They're free to move about the country. Now, most of these people they need the government assistance. They need the money to stay in the hotel. They need the clothes. They need the food, so they don't want to run away. But hey, how many does it take for the cartels to make 10,000, 60,000, 100,000 a head to bring somebody in as a sex trafficker? Now, Drew Hernandez is with me. He's been down at the border as well. He's planning on being back there for more coverage. Drew, seeing it, we were talking about this earlier on the Alex Jones show. Actually seeing it and witnessing it is really an entirely different experience, because I didn't see anything I didn't really expect to necessarily. I wasn't really surprised by what we reported. I think everybody kind of knew it was happening. But to actually see it, to actually witness it, is a whole nother experience. It's like, I know there's meth labs and massive cocaine labs and stuff, but like if I was in them, like in that movie, I forget the name of that movie, where they go into the cocaine labs, but like seeing it, and you can see in his eyes, he's like, whoa, this is wild. Watching the massive smuggling operation and seeing it firsthand was just a surreal experience. What was it like for you being down there, knowing all this was going on, but then actually witnessing it, talking to Border Patrol about it?
I think what's the worst about it is when you're seeing this stuff in real time, right? You're watching it. You could literally see the cartels on the other side in Mexico that are sending people over. They pull up in cars every 30 minutes. They're dropping people off. They send them over. They're being human trafficked, like thousands of dollars, like clockwork, right? But I think what pisses me off the most is when you're watching this and you look on your Twitter and you see that the White House and Jen Psaki is coming out and saying, they're not getting across the border. This isn't taking place. Joe Biden tells the American people that there's no one getting across the southern border. This isn't the vast, what do you say? The vast majority of the people are being sent back. And that's just absolutely not true. I think that's an insult. It's like, we know you're an idiot and we don't care, but we're going to lie to you anyways.
And the actual number that I saw, which was from the federal statistics, was only 13% of people are being sent back. 13% is nowhere near a majority.
Yeah, that's not the vast majority in any way, shape, or form.
No, it's not even close.
Not even close.
And in fact, I would even doubt that it's 13%. I would doubt that I would say it's probably less than that.
Yeah, well, I've had conversations with Border Patrol agents, and if there's some listening to me right now, they know what I'm talking about. They get instructed to not report the accurate numbers that they're finding down at the southern border. And we all know why, because it's for political optics and purposes. And I think it's like what we were talking about with Alex, is like a lot of these guys, they're torn in opposite directions because they have livelihoods, they have families that they have to take care of, but they're human beings and they have consciences. So it's just a terrible situation that this administration has really put people, not just the migrants, but even the Border Patrol agents.
Well, and this is where I think we should just kind of sit here and interface with our information to kind of understand the mindset better here. Because here's what I experienced. When I was going to these facilities, you know, I mean, you can kind of subtly record, but for the most time, you know, I'm filming with the phone. Sometimes I can be subtle. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes I'm talking. And what I noticed was, you know, with Border Patrol, they never really, they weren't bothered by the camera. I guess I'll put it to you that way. They weren't bothered by it. They never tried to interfere with it. They always let it happen. And sometimes you could tell like they wish they could talk to me. But as I was told, they're instructed when they get questions from the media, they just give you a phone number of their human resources, or I forget what it's called. Yeah. I got 2 different numbers. I called them all day yesterday. Never got an answer. Yeah. So go figure. But when I deal with the people that work in the facilities that aren't Border Patrol, I guess they're just volunteers or they work at these Catholic centers, or like the lady that was in the facility where Ted Cruz was filming and she steps in front of the camera to try to block him from filming. They don't like it. They don't like it when we're recording. They don't like it when we ask questions. They won't cooperate. You know, they tell us to buzz off and, you know, think about the people. Well, I'm not the one using these people for sex trafficking. I'm not the one engaging in human smuggling with these people. What do you mean worry about these people? So I'm curious, did you notice kind of that same thing with the dynamic between Border Patrol and then just, you know, the volunteers that are helping facilitate this?
Yeah, the Border Patrol, they want to talk. You know, they want to expose what's going on because you cannot honestly view this as a human being, right? You could remove yourself left and right, but you cannot watch this kind of stuff and literally sit here and try and cover it up and think that this is normal. Joe Biden wants you to believe that this is normal. This is why he tries to say, remember what he say in his first presser? He said, this is something that takes place once every year, which is absurd because DHS and Border Patrol has come out. Literally? Once every year. Once every year.
What does that even mean, once every year? Like all year long, once every year?
Yeah, Border Patrol says that this is the worst it's been in 20 years.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, their eyes are like, they're like, holy smokes, they don't even know what to do.
Yeah, I think they want to talk because they know this is literal crimes against humanity.
And they know it more than anybody.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They see even behind the scenes. They see the things that we're not allowed to see. Yeah. They tell the horror stories about the kids getting raped on the way up here.
Yeah, but there is a difference because when you see the Border Patrol, they want to talk about this because they clearly understand that there's something taking place that needs to be dealt with. But because the administration is putting them on unofficial gag orders, they're not allowed to talk about it or leak any data. It's suppression of information in the media. We all know what that is, right? But when you see that little woke Wookiee in the detention facility trying to suppress Ted Cruz from filming, what was she saying? She was saying, please show the people dignity and respect. Show the people dignity and respect. Literally when they're on camera behind her, wrapped up like a bunch of Chipotle burritos, stuffed into a little cell that's meant for 70. There's more than like 700 people stuffed into those things. And she's sitting there trying to talk to us about dignity and respect.
Well, and let's be clear. When I see these people and when I saw these people, I do look at them as people. I know that they're not my enemy, and I'd love to have them have a prosperous American life. I think that'd be the greatest thing, and we could even talk about that. But here's the problem. That lady doesn't view them as people. She views them as a political object. Yeah. She views them as a political object that she's using right now for whatever political agenda the left is promoting, and right now that's open borders. So she sees them as a political object. For a lot of people, they see them as just dollar signs. Yeah. That's all it is, just dollar signs. These people coming in are dollar signs. Dollar signs for the hotels, dollar signs for the tent builders, dollar signs for the workers, dollar signs for the cartels. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, hey, I actually do see them as people. We're not the one smuggling them. We're not the one putting them into human trafficking. We're not the ones using them as a political object. But of course, again, that's why they want to cover up the cameras. Because they know what they're doing is wrong and illegal. And if the truth got out and the story got out, their gig would be up.
When I went down Yuma, the southern border, when I was there, when I talked to the Border Patrol agent down there, I was just honest with them. I was like, look, man, I'm watching everything that's taking place. There's a lot of people coming over the border. I only see like 3 of you out here, 5 max to cover miles of we're not talking about a border wall here. Right? We're talking about parts of the border that have incomplete sections of border wall. So in some instances, they'll put like a handful of agents to cover miles of border with incomplete border wall. And when I was talking to him, was like, sir, I don't mean any disrespect, but it really looks like you guys are outnumbered here. And he's like, no, you're completely correct. You're completely right. We are outnumbered out here. So I think these are the things that are on the Border Patrol's heart, because not only is this crimes against humanity and they know what's happening with these cartels, but they probably feel helpless, Owen. They probably feel like they don't have enough resources. They don't have enough boots on the ground to even deal with this kind of stuff. It just makes you feel helpless, honestly.
Well, they don't. I mean, they really don't. And it'd be impossible. I mean, how much manpower would you actually need to cover the entire southern border? You couldn't do it. You'd have to bring the military in, which I think would actually make sense logically to do. But that's not going to happen. But the problem is there's nothing right now mitigating the illegal immigration. All the policies right now are encouraging illegal immigration. So if you had a wall, that would mitigate it. If you had a policy that said we're going to send you back, that would mitigate it. If you clearly said, hey, look, you're not getting free stuff if you come here, and we're going to send you right back, or if you get caught, we're going to arrest you, that would mitigate it. All of that's been dropped. So all the policies right now are encouraging the illegal immigration. And then really on top of that, it's accepting it. I mean, I don't even know how to really explain it. We don't even have a border. We really don't even have a country. I mean, that's really what this comes down to. So we're going to continue to talk about this with Drew Hernandez, and there could be some solutions here, but some brave men and women are going to have to step up and take a lead role. We got Drew Hernandez in studio with us.
And honestly, we need troops at the border and not in Ukraine.
Yeah, don't need them in Poland. Don't need them in Germany. The only place we need them is here. There's absolutely no reason to be keeping them all around the world. He wants to start World War III. Biden wants to start it. No doubt about it. Clinton didn't get in, so somebody's got to do it.
I can remember a few years ago, speaking of troops at the border, an old friend of mine, he took a volunteer National Guard assignment to go down to the border to patrol the border. And I think he was there for 6 or 8 months doing that. So, and that was actually under the Bush administration. As much as I hate to say that. But yeah.
And thank you, Ghetto, for doing that.
We're talking about our experience at the southern border, and it's just wild. We get one level of what's going on, and then we can get information kind of shared with us. But the Border Patrol agents get the full scope and scale, and I don't know how much more they can deal with this, honestly, because the Border Patrol agents are very distressed. They're very upset that this is going on. I don't think that the Border Patrol agents can take much more of this. Now, I don't know what that's going to lead to, but to me, as we were saying in the break, most of the Border Patrol agents I talk to are from the border towns and joined Border Patrol to help with the stop crime in the towns that they grew up in. That's why it's like every Border Patrol agent I see is Hispanic. Looks like they're from that area. So, but it's racism, I'm sure. Racism have a wall. That makes sense. But were you experiencing the same thing with Border Patrol? Again, I mean, I just think that's going to be the breaking point here, is that Border Patrol agents are eventually just going to have to say, enough is enough. I don't know how we're going to stop this, or I don't know what we're going to do or say, but this is just totally out of control, and it is a crisis, and they know.
Now we've been talking about it, and my mind's kind of going, it almost sounds a lot similar to what's happening with the defund the police narrative, huh? Like they're just dehumanizing, demoralizing the police to cause them, to force them to quit. For what reason? We're not going to have a country where it's void of police. They want to install people that will obey the state, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what they want. I think it's very similar at the border. Now that I think about it, they're dehumanizing, they're demoralizing these Border Patrol agents. It's just like neutering them.
Well, and actually, if you continue down that thought pattern and logic, which I agree with, they're doing the same thing to the military.
Yeah.
They're doing
Across the board.
so all the institutions that keep our republic strong and keep our nation strong and free, the Democrat Party and the liberal left progressives are trying to destroy right now.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the Biden administration is on record, Owen. They were being warned when they were having their transition of power. DHS, Border Patrol agents, they were briefing the transition team, hey, if you pull back some of these now current Trump policies at the border, you could potentially have a border surge, border crisis. This is a fact. Biden didn't listen. The administration didn't listen. A lot of this stuff could have been prevented. Yeah. You know, Joe Biden called for a surge. He called for a surge. But not only that, he rejected wise counsel from the current DHS Border Patrol that was warning them, if you actually do this, okay, we know you have political optics and all your mindless lemmings just want to hear what you have to say and hear your talking points. But if you actually do this and you roll back some of these policies, you're going to have some serious issues at the border. And he didn't listen. Didn't listen at all.
Well, here's why. Here's what people need to understand. It's not that he didn't listen. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows this is going to happen. He wants this to happen.
Intentionally. Yeah.
So that's what people need to have sear in. Now, the problem is Biden is, I mean, he's a ghost of a shell. He's just a puppet. He's just a flesh bag that they kind of just wave around in front of us. He's not actually making any of this policy. He's just executing it. I don't even know if you caught him off guard away from all of his handlers, if he could even tell you what's going on, quite frankly. I haven't seen or heard from Biden in like a week since he fell down the stairs. So he's just the guy up there being puppeted along to go along with this. But that's what, because a lot of these leaders, I don't think they get it yet. And maybe this will be kind of the eye-opening experience, realizing what's like, hey, you know this is happening down here. We warned you about it, and yet you're continuing to make it worse. That's because they want it worse. It's hard to believe. I understand. It's hard to believe anybody would want this to happen other than criminals, but that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, but notice their like response to the White House rep for the southern border, right? She was being interviewed by CNN, and she literally said, right, to CNN on camera, she literally said, the cartel's message is stronger than ours. And she said, our message is getting out less than to the migrants not to come. So they openly and they willfully admit that they're losing. The United States government, right? The White House, you're 80 million people, right? These people are willfully admitting that the cartels are beating them. That's the answer we get. That's the answer. That's it. It's like, okay, so what the hell are you going to do about it?
Well, anybody could beat Joe Biden. I mean, that's the joke is, yeah, the cartels are beating Biden. Yeah, a 13-year-old could probably beat Biden intellectually. Like, so of course Biden administration is getting whooped on all these issues, but that's what they want. Yeah, he can't even climb upstairs. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what he's up to. I haven't seen or heard from Biden in a week. And here's the thing. They just said they're going to have another like $2 trillion stimulus bill. I don't remember the number. We had that $3 trillion stimulus bill. Most people didn't even get a stimulus package. So the whole thing is a joke. I'm not, here's my thing. For whatever reason, we can sit here and talk about Central America is collapsing. Okay, we know why. It's leftist policies. It's the New World Order. It's the UN collapsing these nations into the United States. But we could actually do something. Like if we were smart and we wanted to do a humanitarian thing and like give these people a new way of life and the American way of life, with a $2 trillion, $5 trillion over the course of 2 months, we could build entire cities. I'd even let them do an experiment as a sustainable city. Like, do it. Bring in engineers. Bring in Elon Musk. Bring in Brazilian engineers. And let's do it. Go ahead. Trillions of dollars. Go ahead. Do an experiment. Put all the illegal immigrants there. Teach them English. And let's see if a sustainable city works. Like, we could do stuff like that. I'm not even saying I'm for it. I'm just saying with all the money and all the issues, we could do something like that. Instead, we just get fleeced. We just get fleeced over and over and over. We get financially fleeced. And we send billions of dollars of humanitarian aid to Central America. What happens to that money? Obviously, the people aren't seeing it because then they come here and we have to distribute another $1 billion in humanitarian aid.
Yeah, they want all of us in this position. These global elites, they want every single one of us on our knees, right? So these $2 million stimulus packages, this free money that's going everywhere, this is going to cause the country to go even further and further and further and further and further in debt. But not only are these people going to continue to be recipients of the state, but they want us to be that as well. That's why they're pushing this to the masses. That's why they want the American people to think that it's normal to be pushing out $2 trillion like it's nothing, like it's absolutely nothing. When we had a booming economy, just like what, two and a half years ago, America was getting back on its feet, and then the scary China virus came back, right? Which, by the way, I think this border crisis completely exposes COVID-19,
Well, it should.
right? Because look at what's happening in San Diego. Now migrants, children, are getting in-person learning, while American children are continuing to suffer, having to stay at home, dealing with depression,
I mean, technically,
anxiety.
that's every state. That's Texas, too. I mean, look, all the kids are playing together in these.
Financial rape. It's pretty much what it is, you know. So they're raping our children, they're raping our teenagers, and now they're raping our bank accounts. It's like sex to all of them. It's nuts.
I came across a picture, Hawk, and this has been out for years, but I want to read you this thing. I have it on my phone. Let me find it here. There it is. It's a picture of a condom with a smiley face on it. And it says, the Democrat Party today announced that it is changing its symbol from the donkey to a condom because it more accurately reflects the party's political stance. The condom allows for inflation, halts production, destroys the next generation, protects a bunch of dicks, and gives you a sense of security all while you're actually being screwed.
Yep.
This boils my blood to a point where I'm about to say fuck the government and protect our children and troops. Ghetto and Cola, your kids are my nephews and niece. I don't care what I have to do, but those 3 kids mean everything to me, and I'll die fighting for those 3.
Yeah, but this should like anyone that's watching that thinks that, you know, we're just giving you talking points. Like, how could you not see at this point that literally right now that migrant children are receiving in-person learning while American children are literally suffering from depression, suicidal thoughts because they don't have any societal interaction any longer. So our kids have to suffer while foreigners get our privileges.
Oh, I had security.
Education is a privilege. Of course it is. I'm not going to sit here and deny it. Like, this is America last. Literally America last.
I'm walking around the McAllen airport, you know, filming and doing journalism, and security is stalking me. I'm being stalked. I mean, it's like, again, I'm not even against these people, man, but they're illegal immigrants. That's what they are. And it's like, oh, I'm going to follow the American citizen around and harass him about a mask. But, you know, hundreds of illegal immigrants coming in without IDs. They get to go on the airplane paid for by the government. But that's exactly what it is. It's Cloward and Piven. By the year 2030, they want the American way of life shut down, no economy, and then they'll build their super cities where all the federal government money will go, and you'll be begging to get in the slave super cities just so you can get a paycheck from the government. That's what they want.
It's the War Room. All right, I got two more topics I'm going to discuss with Drew Hernandez here. Here's one story that not many people are talking about. There are definitely oppressed people that are coming here, or people that have kids and they don't see a prosperous future in Honduras or El Salvador or Guatemala for their kids. So they come to America hoping for a more prosperous life. They can't speak English, but they figure it's probably better off. And then there's people that are coming in here that are middle-aged. They don't have kids. They're coming here to party, folks. I don't know what else to say. They're coming here to party. They get to the airport. They're Skyping their friends saying, I'm here. It's going to be great. They already got their party gear on. So that's definitely happening as well. So I want to talk about that. And then also how this the COVID fiasco, the hoax, should be completely exposed by what's going on down at the border. But yeah, let's focus on this right here. So I probably saw 2,000 illegal immigrants in the 3 days that I was down there. I mean, it's hard to really put a number on it, but definitely thousands of illegal immigrants. And you could tell, Drew, that there were some families that, you know, they came here for a better life. They really came here because they were told you can get in for free. You'll get the bus, you'll get the plane, you'll get everything. And so they came here, and they don't look like they're poor. They have new clothes. They have smartphones. But then I saw people that were here by themselves or here with what you could see was a friend, similar age. And they're just coming here because they want to come into America and party. And so also the crew points out, you know, where did the Black Lives Matter money go? I've been asking that. Maybe it went to this illegal immigration. Maybe it went to some of these charities that are funding this. So, I mean, what do you make of, yeah, there's obviously people coming in from desolate situations, but there's also people that are coming in just because they know they can get in for free and get a free handout on the journey.
And a lot of Border Patrol agents that I've talked to, they do make that point, that one of the biggest problems they have is actually vetting these people. Not only DNA tests to see if they're actually families, but to see if these people are actually who they claim to be. Are they actually seeking asylum? Are they actually fleeing persecution? Are these people that are actually in desperate need? Because the context of this conversation is what? These people are claiming asylum, right? So I think Border Patrol agents do have that struggle as well, is how do we vet these people to even identify who they really are? I've had a conversation with a Border Patrol agent that told me that, you know, one of the biggest challenges we have is that because they will come over without any papers, and there's literally no way to verify who the heck these people are. Not only the kids, but the adults as well. Are these people genuinely who they claim to be? So I think it's naive. I'm glad you mentioned these people that put together, they donate money, they have all these organizations that help the migrants, and they might have good intentions to do so, but they have no idea who they're really funding. They have no idea who these people really are. I mean, for all we know, these people could be taking advantage of this.
Absolutely. Well, of course people will take advantage of it, even if it's just, and that's the old liberal, even if it just saves one life, well then close the border. How many lives are you going to save doing that? I mean, thousands potentially. And, you know, the DNA testing is just another policy that mitigates the illegal immigration. That's just, you just put as many mitigating factors into this, and that's how the Trump administration got it out of control. And again, that's another thing the Border Patrol knows. Like, the Trump administration actually had policies that helped the problem. The Biden administration erased all of them. And when I see, though, because guys, pull up that envelope picture that you just had up there, because I want to explain something else here. So this one family that I was trying to talk to, I was filming them, and part of me was wondering, are they getting nervous? Because they could tell I was filming, and I was like, oh, then maybe they're getting nervous. But then what I realized is they wanted my help. They because they can't speak English, they can't read English. All they have is that envelope in front of them, and they're sitting in an airport in America, and they have no idea what they're doing. So I literally had to help these people get to the gate and get on their flight because they can't speak English. Nobody else was there. That's why on the envelope it says, please help me, I can't speak English. But so if you look at this, so they got this envelope, they probably got all this written down by the Catholic charity group there. That's where the plane tickets are being purchased. Who knows where that money's coming from? And then they write on the envelope their flights and the cities they're going to. So you can see here, they had the last flight out of McAllen. They land in Vegas. They don't leave Vegas till the next day. Well, what are these people doing for that 12-hour time span? They can't speak English. They can't mobilize themselves throughout the country. I mean, so are they being picked up? Is somebody at the airport waiting? Are they going to wait at the airport? Are they just on their own? I mean, it's just, there's so much craziness here. And it's just, we have all the proof that this is what's happening.
You know, what I find dangerous about this is some of these people are indebted to the cartels. They get in debt on the Mexican side of the border. And some of these cartels have organized crime literally in the United States. They have these businesses. They're very organized. They're legit. They appear to be legit. But they charge them in Mexico, and then they're working their debt off for the rest of their lives here in the United States. So that's probably where some of these people are going. Where the Americans think, oh, these are their families, these are their contacts, these are their sponsors. But some of these people are literally indebted to the devil himself through these cartels, and they will be working this debt off. They're not getting paid minimum wage, Owen. They're not getting paid some nice, glorious salaries. You know what I'm saying? They're getting paid peanuts.
It's indentured
peanuts,
servitude.
literally.
And imagine if the cartels are involved with any of these people, they know what flight they're getting on. They know when they're landing.
Yep.
They can be right there waiting.
Yep, and they will be right there because they want their money.
It's unbelievable.
That's how dangerous this really is.
And so, by the way, we're going to open up the phone lines coming up in the next hour. Yeah, that was me at the San Antonio facility a couple of years ago with some of the crew here. They didn't like us being there either. Yeah, it was the same thing. It was always the same thing. The people that work at these facilities don't want to be recorded. I mean, and look at that lady. I mean, come on. You know, she didn't vote for Trump. I mean, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, they do look like Antifa members. They're like your stereotypical, because they're in it for their politics. They know this is a political statement. They see these people as a political object, and they don't give a damn what happens to them when they get in. So that's just how that goes. But we're going to open up the phone lines. If any people from Border Patrol, or you know anybody in Border Patrol or ICE or police in these border towns, or state troopers that are now being deployed to the border, and you want to come in, call in to talk about this, we're going to open up the phone lines for you. 877-789-2539. 877-789-2539. Again, we're looking for Border Patrol or law enforcement at the border cities, and you want to talk about the issues here that we've discussed. But I want to talk about one more thing with Drew before we do that. So this whole open border policy should completely expose the COVID hoax. There's so many different angles. Their group learning, their kids are playing on playgrounds, yours aren't. They don't even quarantine. They'll bring a busload of 30 people in, 8 people test positive for COVID. They'll get quarantined in a hotel. The other people are released to the country. Well, how do we know that they're not doing a super spreader event? Again, I'm not promoting the COVID fear. We're just going off of their logic. So shouldn't this expose the entire COVID hoax?
I don't think people care. And when I say people, I'm talking about these wokeists that don't care. They just don't care. Because whatever they're focused on, that's one thing I give credit to the left, is they're always unified. Like they
it's
are
true. No, they are
behind it, and they lock arms.
They don't think.
They don't
they just
think.
do.
They're lemmings, and they'll just die for the cause, right? So right now, I think the whole COVID thing is kind of like not necessarily fading away, but I'm speaking like in the mind of a leftist. I think they're transitioning over to these migrants because that's a hot issue right now. So right now they're banding together, and they're just going to throw the COVID narrative by the wayside because this means more to them at the moment.
But it'll always be a tool that they use to try to oppress us or intimidate us.
Yep.
Wear the mask.
And I'm talking about activists. I'm talking about I'm not talking about like the big players. You know, I'm talking about like these activists, these SJWs, that woman with the Stranger Things T-shirt you just played. Like
she's probably wearing a mask right now.
I'm talking about those people. Like they are getting behind this because this is like easing their conscience. That's all it is. They don't care about Hispanics. They don't care about Latinos.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. Because they do all this virtue. We need to censor that. But I'm serious. That's what it is. Look, I don't like insulting people. I just have to tell the truth. I can't help it when I'm here on air. I'm totally untethered. That woman is an unhealthy piece of garbage, okay? But she virtue signals all day long like she's all high and mighty and righteous. And so that's why. So she goes to that facility to be like, see, I am doing something. I'm doing something. See, look at me.
Well, think about their ideology. These are people that believe in that white supremacy is under every single rock, and they have bought into their white guilt, and they need to somehow cleanse their sins. And the way that these people do that is they go do stuff like that. They try to appear like they're helping minorities in order to cleanse and wash their sins of their whiteness away.
This is a mental illness. This is mass mental illness. We need to address it or society will collapse.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of info. That's a whole lot of info there. And they're covering a lot of different topics. And I would almost say you could almost expect a strike for that. But hey, you know, if you're doing the right thing, you're getting taken down. If you're not, you're not. You know, I mean, it's that simple. So, but I got to boogie along. I have other obligations this evening. Thanks for having me. All right, and I'll be listening in while I'm out with the out running the dogs. But you folks have a great night, and keep your ear to the information. All right, and research for yourself as well. All right.
Good evening, Hawk.
All right, brother. Zach, love you, brother.
I don't care about strikes. Information is more important.
Yep, I agree with that, and I say it all the time. They can strike me all they want. I'll just keep coming back with a different channel.
Ready for the hard topic with the damn schools?
Let's roll, man.
As an argument, someone who I think is an intelligent person say that there should be a block against using the word groomer. Unbelievable. No, there should be no groomers. How about that? And this is what they wrote. They said, not all teachers are groomers, but a lot of groomers are teachers.
There you go.
And that's real. Constantly, teachers are getting arrested for exposing themselves to children, for masturbating in front of children, for sending nude pictures in front of children. Every couple days, there's a new one that pops up in the news. And how many of those people haven't been caught yet? And how many of those people are out there? And how many of those people are doing it under the guise of I'm an LGBTQ educator?
Ah, so that's what it is. See, when you surround yourself with people who fearmonger about educators and the LGBTQ community simultaneously, all of a sudden you believe all these little fantasy stories about teacher, like the prevalence of teachers serving as groomers within the public education system, because that's exactly what happens. All those powerful teachers, all that good pay, all those benefits they get, they're so powerful. They use their position of power to groom kids. Now, look, I don't know specifically what he's referring to. It's like every couple of days, there's a story of a teacher doing this or that.
Meanwhile, counselor at Tucson High School is out of jail and out of a job after her arrest on charges of having a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old student. 29-year-old ᖴᖇᘿᘿᘍᑍ is charged with 1 count of sexual conduct with a minor. Tucson police say on May 3rd, detectives received a report of an inappropriate relationship between ᖃᑍᑿ and that student happening off school property. Detectives found probable cause to arrest ᖃᑍᑿ. She turned herself in and resigned from TUSD last week. The district says it is cooperating with the ongoing.
All right, guys. So as you saw there, that was a clip of Ana Kasparian going off on Joe Rogan for, pushing these conspiracies about these teachers that are engaging in inappropriate behavior, right? Some make, classified as grooming. That's what they call it. She said, oh no, why is he going after these teachers? And why is he believing all of these fantasy stories about these teachers and the inappropriate behaviors that they're allegedly engaging in with students? Again, this is the left's Achilles heel, okay? They don't believe their eyes, right? They don't believe their eyes because they don't want to acknowledge the extremism that is within their party. Either that or they agree with a lot of this stuff, okay? Because it seems that Anna, in my opinion, seems to be deflecting from all these incidences of these teachers engaging in sexual misconduct with students, okay? Conduct that I'm starting to believe that people like her support, because they refuse to call it out and go as far as to call people who are calling out this behavior as groomers, because they don't like the use of the term groomer, when obviously that's what's going on here, okay? So with that being said, I want to talk about a story here that kind of highlights exactly what Joe Rogan was talking about and what conservatives have been talking about in regards to what is going on in our schools. And I just want to let you guys know this is not a very YouTube friendly story, okay? So with that being said, if you like my channel, you want to support my channel, you can do so using the links in the description below. You can support the Patreon, you support the PayPal, you support the merch. There are multiple ways to support the channel if you would like to do so. Again, that helps me do topics that are not necessarily as YouTube friendly, okay? So that being said, let's talk about it, because this story involves a former school counselor accused of having sex with a teen student. And I want to go ahead and play the video from the news report so that you guys get a better understanding of what's going on here, because the trend in terms of the things that we're saying here is very disturbing. Take a look.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Sean Mooney. Tucson police have arrested a Tucson high school counselor accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a 15-year-old student. News for Tucson's Priscilla Casper joins us live in studio with the latest. Priscilla.
ᖴᖇᘿᘿᘍᑍ is charged with 1 count of sexual conduct with a minor. Now, detectives say the investigation began earlier this month. According to the interim complaint, the student had allegedly been living with ᖃᑍᑿ and another woman. Detectives conducted interviews and served multiple search warrants in connection with the case. They say those warrants revealed inappropriate messages between ᖃᑍᑿ and the student. Tucson Unified School District releasing a statement today reading in part, quote, on Thursday, May 5th, 2022, Ms. ᖃᑍᑿ resigned her position from the Tucson Unified School District and is no longer an employee of the district. The Tucson Unified School District administration will continue to cooperate with the Tucson Police Department in its ongoing investigation. It goes on to say our administration will continue to emphasize the health and safety of our students as our highest priority, unquote. Meanwhile, Tucson police are doing their investigation and ask anyone with information about this case to call 911 or 88 Crime. Reporting in studio, Priscilla Casper, News 4 Tucson.
Yeah, so apparently this teacher had the student, I guess, over at her house, right? According to that news clip, living with her and another female, clapping her cheeks, right? And probably the other female as well, too, that was there. And that is not behavior that I condone, right? Even if it's a 15-year-old boy, this woman is 29 years old. This is not okay, right? And this behavior must be called out because we're seeing it all too often within our schools. However, again, people like, Anna Kasparian, she says this is a conspiracy, okay? This is a conspiracy. It's not happening, right? But with that being said, let's actually read a little bit about this, and then I want to show you guys something that you should not be surprised about in regards to this teacher and her activities at school. And by the way, I want you guys to take notice of the little pink strip right here in her hair, okay? We all know what that probably means in regards to where she's at on the political spectrum and some of the ideologies that she espouses to. But let's read here. A former Arizona high school counselor is accused of having sex with a teen student. KOLD reports Tucson Police Department detectives received a report on May 3rd about an inappropriate relationship between a 29-year-old ᖴᖇᘿᘿ᷍ᵉ and a 15-year-old student. Detectives report they conducted interviews and searched electronic devices before arresting Vinick on May 11th. According to the Tucson Unified School District, Vinick resigned on May 5th. Currently, Vinick is not in the Prima County Adult Detention Complex, but authorities said she is facing a charge of sexual conduct with a minor. According to the interim complaint, Vinick's ex-wife called police after finding evidence that Vinick was having a relationship with the minor. The 15-year-old initially told investigators it wasn't true, but reportedly later admitted the romantic relationship started in February. Okay, so Vinick had an ex-wife. So she obviously was bisexual, okay? Okay, I'm just saying. Let's take a look at what she looks like, okay? Strips of, dyed hair, okay? We all know what the stereotypical, person that engages in these types of activities, what they look like, how they present themselves. I mean, it's not a coincidence, guys. Come on here. Come on. The police said there was plenty of cell phone evidence that the two were in a relationship. The minor reportedly told investigators the two knew the relationship was bad because of Vinick's age. Yeah, so again, they're engaged in a relationship that both sides knew was wrong, okay? But again, this is what some of these teachers who espouse some of these sexual ideologies, this is what they're into, okay? And again, I'm not saying that all teachers are into it. I'm not making no overarching claim or anything like that. I'm just saying this is the type of stuff that we are saying, okay? And Lives of TikTok did some investigating into this teacher and found something that nobody should be surprised about. And this is exactly what we have been telling people about when it comes to, again, a lot of this stuff that has been pushed on the classrooms and the characteristics of the teachers that are pushing this stuff. As this same guidance counselor is the guidance counselor that set up the first annual drag show for this school, okay? This counselor, whom is, bisexual or whatever, okay? She also is responsible for setting up a drag show and having kids be a part of the drag show, right? I don't think that it's a coincidence that this teacher, right, has a certain ideology, okay? And she is setting up these drag shows. Again, that is a representation of her ideology that she's pushing on these kids in school, and she's engaged in these type of activities, right? Ain't that kind of what Joe Rogan was alluding to, right? Isn't that what he was alluding to? But no. According to Anna Kasparian and the Young Turks, that's a conspiracy. That's a fantasy story. You're making it up. You're making it up. This is not what these teachers are doing. These teachers aren't, participating in these type of behaviors with kids and then trying to hide behind, a certain ideology. Oh, no, it's not happening. You're an extremist. You're a conspiracy theory. You're a religious nut job, according to the left. But that's simply not the case. What actually is happening here is what is happening, right? Is what we're seeing with our own two eyes. There's a lot of teachers out here that are pushing this stuff on kids, and this is why we have an issue with these teachers that want to talk with kids so much about their sexual orientation. It doesn't make sense. Why do you want to talk to them about who you like to sleep with? Like, what reason do you have to do that? That's a fair question. Because any teacher who wants to engage in those conversations with kids obviously has some screws loose, right? The elevator ain't going all the way to the top floor. There's some things we need to check out. Because again, any rational, sane teacher that is there to teach and to make sure these kids learn what they're supposed to learn in school, okay, they're not going to be concerned about that. right? They're not going to be trying to put on drag shows. They're not going to be trying to host clubs based off sexual identity. They're not going to be trying to talk to kids about who they sleep with and, you know, whether or not they like the genitalia they was born with. They're not going to want to talk to kids about stuff like that, right? The only people that want to talk to kids about stuff like that are people that have some issues, right? They got some issues that suggest that they should not be in the classroom around kids, right? I'm just saying. Now, again, I'm not trying to smear all teachers. You know, I have no issues with teachers who are LGBTQ, who keep their sexual identity to themselves, right? If they come to school, they teach, they do what they got to do, right? And they just focus on their job. I have no problems with those teachers. I have no problems with schools hiring those teachers because I don't believe in discrimination, right? We shouldn't be discriminating against people based off their sexuality. But the problem is that you have people like this that are making a lot of those teachers that are LGBTQ, that are simply there to do their jobs, they're making them look bad, right? They're making them look like something that they aren't, okay, for the most part. And again, this is why I wish that people in the LGBTQ community would stand up to these teachers and say, hey, you know what? No, you should not be pushing this type of stuff on children. Don't push this type of stuff in school because you're making the rest of the community look bad, right? This is what they should be saying. This is what they should be saying. And I'm pretty sure there are some out there like that. But I'm just saying at the end of the day, you know, you got to be careful to say, hey, I'm not trying to, you know, smear a whole group of people. But let's be honest here. There's a problem. Because some of these teachers that engage in this type of stuff, they have a certain ideology. Again, that's not to say there's not heterosexual teachers that are engaging in this stuff. That happens as well, too. In fact, that's probably the vast majority of these cases involving, you know, misconduct between teachers and kids. But what I'm saying is at the end of the day, ultimately, what's wrong is wrong. And we can't let this stuff creep into school by saying that, oh, it's okay to talk to kids about your sexual orientation and all this other stuff that is just simply inappropriate, right? That's all I'm saying, okay? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
Indoctrination at a young age.
Honestly, people need to work from home and teach or overthrow school boards.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. The school boards, all right, so I want to go over the hierarchy real quick of the education system. All right, and here is why schools are so reluctant to do the right thing as far as the kids and actually weed out the bad teachers from the good. What happens is there's a mandate that comes down from the federal government, from the Department of Education, and that then filters down to the state saying, hey, you have to follow these guidelines right here. And then the state is, you know, the federal government, and the state is what funds your community schools and stuff like that. So what happens is, so let's say a superintendent says, hey, we're not doing the right thing here. We're going to change our curriculum to match what actually needs to be taught. And if it doesn't match anything the state says, hey, we're going to yank your funding. So then the superintendent either bows down before the state, along with the school board, or the superintendent is replaced by the school board to keep the funding. It's a political nightmare. It really is. And for those states that still have teachers unions, they need to get rid of the damn teachers unions, because that's the one pushing all the bullshit.
Well, yes and no, boy, girl. High school students can decide for themselves.
Yes. I'm trying to pull something up here so I can share it with everybody here. All right. Bear with me, Zach. I'm trying to find this. Oh, come on, where you at? Oh, come on, where you at? Dang it. All right. Go into my other account here. Because I may have sent it from my other account. No, I did not. So what I'm trying to pull up is something, it goes along with Book Girl New York's comments. if I can find it here. What I meant by indoctrination at a young age is anything from basically anything before high school. And the high school, kids are, when kids talk to each other, they talk about a lot worse stuff than what parents, I don't want to say realize. We know it happens, but man, where is that?
Well, girl, I have to say no because the school should not be involved in kids' sexual orientation. Sex education I agree with, but not any further.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I understand that. I think parents should be the ones having those talks with the kids, not the school. It's too far back. Yeah, kids are the ones that kids talk amongst each other. Okay, kids are kind of like a community of their own. They have their own conversations. They see things through a different perspective than what adults do. And I don't want to say it's like a blind perspective of the evil of the world, but here's the thing: parents and kids, they need to have that special relationship to where they can talk to each other and have those really frank conversations. Because if you don't have those frank conversations, what they hear in school is going to be misconstrued. They're going to be even more confused than not having the conversation at all. They're going to think one thing is acceptable, whereas it may not be acceptable. They're going to think that society is something totally different than what it actually is. So it's let's see here.
I understand that, girl, and that's fine. But education should be learning and not knowing about sexual orientation preferences.
Here it is. Here it is. All right. So I want to pull this up if it's all right, Zach. Okay, so there was this, all right, and now you have to have a password to get in there, and I had to go to the Wayback Machine for it, so give me just a second here. Okay, and this goes along with this sex ed summer camp right here that I was telling you guys about. And now keep in mind, this is for this summer camp was for kids aged 8 to 11. This week's episode, we are joined by Ashley Robertson to learn about age-appropriate education about sex, consent for children. Children cannot consent to anything like this. I just want to make that absolutely clear. They cannot consent to anything like this. All right. And where she has over a decade in the BDSM scene, not shy of perverse topics. So, I mean, there's that. And then let me go back here real quick. I mean, it's sick stuff. It really is. And let's see here. And this is the transcript of the podcast. I knew from a long time ago that I was going to be a teacher. And the way we treat children in public schools, so is for me, you know, let's see here. I can find it here. It's been a few months since I actually read through this thing. It was sick. It really was. So let's see here. Yes, these ideas of pleasure and excitement and curiosity and novelty and all those being positive things are just missing from most curriculums, and sensuality, especially sensuality. The idea that a kid that's bothered by the tag in their shirt being validated for that being something that they can have accommodated in that way, sex ed, it's weird, but it's an early thing a lot of kids struggle with. That way parent addresses can be early sex ed. What they're teaching at this young age isn't sex ed. I'm sorry. It's just not. And then let me pull this up. This is the article that even got me even going, you know, and looking into this, because I was horrified. The camp, which is being organized by self-proclaimed children's sexuality educator Ashley Robertson, is being advertised for grades 3 to 5, but as young as 7. In other words, some adult, you know, to discuss their child's sexuality with them, and at such a young age, they know. So, vocabulary for topics surrounding sexual orientations and gender identities. So, I mean, it's sick. It really is. So, in a podcast appearance on Multi-Amory, Robertson discussed topics like introducing pornography to kids, polyamorous relationships, which is non-monogamy, teaching kids to talk to people outside their family, strangers, and how to discuss kink. Now remember, This was a kids as early as 7, as old as 11. I just want to throw that out there. I mean, it's sick. It really is. And if you want, Zach, I can drop these links into the chat for you. Well, into private chat. There's the article that got me going. Here is the transcript of that podcast I was going through a little bit. And I'll drop you this one too. Oh, dang it. I hit the wrong button. But yeah, and I'll read you guys the email that I sent the Attorney General. I recently came across some information that should trouble every parent, grandparent, or guardian of children between the ages of 7 to 10. The article I read was about a lady named Ashley Robinson that is allegedly initiating a sex education summer camp in or around the Indianapolis area. According to the article, the camp will use insertables to learn how to put condoms on. Once again, the age group is between 7 and 10, which is totally inappropriate for that age group. And that is a conversation that parents and guardians should be having with their children at the appropriate age. And I said teens, 14 to whenever. When the kids can cognitively understand the repercussions of having sexual relations with kids their own age. As parents, this is a difficult subject to broach, but we know that conversation has to happen. As parents, we are not oblivious to the fact that kids are going to do things like that. We cannot delude ourselves into thinking that they will not. However, it is and should be the sole responsibility of the parents' guardians to have that conversation in a more comfortable environment for the child and the parent. Having a stranger deliver this conversation is absolutely out of the question for parents like myself and others. The topics they will cover besides sex ed seems more like indoctrination rather than education. Please look into this camp and others that may spring up like it. I am asking for an investigation and hopefully a shutdown of this camp before it starts. I am including the link to the article and other links that I have used the archival system to retrieve the link. So I am sending the link to pull up the pulled link. So, I mean, that's sick. It really is. And, you know, what's even better than that the guy that wrote that article actually tagged our Attorney General here in the state on Twitter. So he called him out publicly saying, hey, you better do something. And then I sent that email also. I don't either, Book Girl. I don't either. But this lady was an educator in putting on this camp. So I'm assuming that she was doing it on her own time. But the fact that she was trying to put something together like that is really disturbing. And that makes me question what kind of material, or, you know, if she was even sending form homes with the parents for the camp.
This is just disgusting and disturbing. Children need saved more than ever.
Oh yeah, I agree. And if the parents aren't going to look out for the kids, who will? Yeah. Guys like you and me, of course, but yeah. And it's the parent's sole responsibility to make sure the kid is safe and free of harm and is ready for the world. That's a parent's job. I mean, it's sad that people don't take that seriously anymore. Amen to that, aloha. And what was it? Let me find it. Guardsman mom or guardsman. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, this is a difficult subject for everybody. It really is, especially if you're a parent. We shouldn't even be having to have these conversations with everybody. You know, I mean, and Zach, I see I got a message saying you were on Signal. I'm going to send you a video through Signal real quick. And it's a perfect example of how sick and depraved people are. Give me just a second to pull it up on my phone here. I sent the video to Hawk earlier. So, I mean, it's, and you can share it, not share. I mean, I just, it's disturbing. And all of the imagery that's in this video. And this is an actual video, Zach. It was taken from TikTok and it was posted to 꽶, and I downloaded it from 꽶. I mean, this video right here, it made me sick just to listen to her. I mean, okay.
We are
Did you get it? Okay. Yeah, the video, I mean, it's just, but yeah.
I'm gonna
gonna fucking dumpster dive behind these goddamn abortion clinics. Take those goddamn mushy little gummy bear looking ass bitches and eat them right in front of you. I'm gonna blend them into a smoothie, eat them right in front of you. I'm gonna be eating these little bitch ass babies, and what are they gonna do? Cry to God about it? What's God gonna do? Strike me down with a lightning bolt like Zeus? Dude, Zeus will beat the shit out of a Christian God in a
Isn't that sick? And that's the kind of perverse shit that is out there on TikTok. So, as adults, we have a sole responsibility to watch out for kids. No matter what your religious affiliation is, no matter what your core beliefs are about anything. As adults, it's our sole responsibility to make sure kids are taken care of.
Well, any last words, slow country?
What was that?
Well, any last words, slow country?
No, I think I just summed it up pretty good. You know, it's every adult's responsibility to watch out for children. Every moral adult, I should say. So that's it for me, man. You got anything?
Hey family, thank you for coming tonight and participating in this hard subject. I know that it's heart-wrenching and sad, but please stand behind me and fight. I love you all so much, and the Bible verse for Thursday, June 30th, 2022 is, "So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh." Galatians 5:16 NIV.
Have a good night, everybody.
We need you now. We need you now. One day, one day, one day, I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you.